5:15. We get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Castro?
Here.
Commissioner Krantz?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Rich? Chairperson O'Reilly.
Here. Commissioner Jones, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You did not.
At 11.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public communications for non-agenda items?
Mr. Chairperson, I do not have any public speakers on non-agenda items.
With no public speakers, we'll move on to regular business. Item number 2 on the agenda. Can we get a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last 2 meetings?
Motion to approve minutes.
I have a question. So I left halfway through one meeting. Does that matter with this vote to approve the minutes?
Shouldn't. Did I mess up any votes on anything?
Not that I noticed.
I don't think we voted on anything.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure me being absent half that meeting didn't have anything to do with me voting on the minutes.
No,
No,
because
you were
you were
already
there.
in attendance.
Okay,
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
sorry for the confusion. We got a first, can we get a second?
You got a second. Second.
Brian, while we're voting, did you have anything for non-agenda?
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Madam Clerk, can we jump back to non-agenda for a moment? The parking outside was crucial.
12.
Come on up, Brian.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking an extra moment for my wife and I to speak tonight. We have had some disturbing situations happening behind our house, through Bedrock Park, behind the tennis courts, on the levee behind our house. And part of what we're realizing is when code enforcement cut out the fire pits in Bedrock Park, we had some unintended consequences. They used to be burning in a metal container, whether it was plastic, wood, whatever they were burning. They're now doing that on the levee, behind the tennis courts, and behind our house. We had a gentleman be arrested for arson. He lit a fire, the police called, fire department came, and then he came back and lit a bigger fire and then walked away from it. And we're trying to communicate with the fire department, with the police department, and there just seems to be many unknowns and no ordinances that anybody can operate under. And so one situation, warming fires. There's no way to determine what a warming fire is, but it seems that the firemen, the police officers, they don't want to do anything about it because they feel bad. And it didn't matter if the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. It didn't matter if it was in a park. And my understanding is that you can't have a fire in a park, period, whether it's a warming fire or not, unless it's in a designated area like a barbecue pit. And so now we don't have those. We're still getting inundated behind our house with cars and nefarious activity. And I'm here to suggest, and I know this is something that maybe you guys could approach council with, is somehow trying to annex the levee space behind our house to connect Rotary Park and Bedrock Park, and maybe even down to Centennial Park. That would create logistical cohesiveness with who maintains the space and who's responsible for the space. And ultimately, if it became a park, then there could be enforcements of curfews, could possibly get the gate a little faster to remove the cars from hanging out back there where there is no trash cans, there is no monitoring, there is no police enforcement. And it's fire season already, and the weeds are 2 feet tall on the levee already. We do have a field next to us that's massively overgrown, which isn't your fault. But fire season is here, and we're very, very concerned about our house, and we're just looking to find some solutions and work with you guys on whatever solutions may be possible to understand the ramifications of the decisions that are made and to.
Time.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated comments. I will say that the individual that was arrested the second time of starting a fire that day was also on parole for arson already, and they did revoke his parole, and he got fresh charges of arson and was taken to jail with a parole hold. So he's being held until he goes and faces his situation in court. With that said, I would personally like to thank you and all of the individuals that work so diligently keeping an eye out for the community with your walks, with watching your own backyards, with watching neighbors' backyards. Had somebody not physically seen that gentleman, and I don't even know that I want to call him a gentleman right now, and physically seen him and stepped forward to say something, he would not be in jail on his new arson charges. So I thank you. It's definitely what we need to do as a community is keep an eye out for each other. So, and I also want to touch real quick. You mentioned the levee in trying to make that a thoroughfare, or
Not a road, but just connected via the park system.
correct.
It all is a linked park system.
Right, that's what I meant. I know that it was on our goals. I didn't see that in Wade's letter to us, but if he has anything on that, he can speak to that. If you do, Wade, if not, it's fine.
That's just outside of my realm. That would be more of a Dawn. And the only thing
Yeah.
I have to say to that is we can make all the ordinances rules that we want. If they're not enforced, they're no good.
Right,
We have camping in our parks every night, and there's no camping allowed in our parks.
right. This is,
You know as well as I do, you were out last night. I was
Right.
out last week. There's cars parked at Bedrock Park. There's people in the lot
Absolutely.
saying Park. There's Hewitt Park. So we put up signs, but if it's not enforced, what good are they?
would it help to inherit that portion of the levee as part of the park? Moving into if we can try to get this.
I'm not opposed to it. It's not really my call. I'm just saying, again, we can dedicate parkland all day long, but if it's not enforced, there's not really a reason to do it.
Well, and that, to interject, following my conversation with Stephanie and Brian yesterday and hearing these reports, this is something that I was trying to pull in staff, code enforcement, public safety, and parks department, so that we can discuss this, roundtable it internally as staff as what this would look like if we were to inherit this. One of the issues is that the levee is segmented. There's numerous parcel owners along the levee, not just city, not just county, not just Feather River Recreation and Park District. So that makes it even stickier. Also, it's a drive access, but it's not a public road. So we have that issue to contend with as well. So I would like to request to let staff roundtable it internally, and then we'll bring what our thoughts are. Because additionally, the levee is also what holds back the Feather River during high water events. And so that's another potential issue. We've had requests from other public agencies and developers to punch a hole through the levee and have a walking path. And there's a lot of issues and concern that comes with that. There's numerous surveys that need to be done. So there's huge variabilities here that we need to deal with before we just say, let's make it a park. So I do want to entertain this idea further, but we really have to discuss it in depth. So
I appreciate that, and I'll just say, as far as myself, as long as staff is having that discussion, I'm perfectly confident and comfortable in that. Just know that the commissioners are hearing from the constituents, so we'll probably be asking about it a lot. Commissioner Castro?
It seems like just in general, our public has lost faith and trust in attending and going to some of our parks. And that's something that is really concerning to me. And I'm also very concerned about when you do that staff roundup, tell us exactly what the ordinance is, tell us exactly what should be happening, because I've heard 2 or 3 stories today. One is it's not being enforced. One is it's not there as an ordinance to enforce. And to double onto what Wade said, I think that we should start right there. What do we have? And is it an ordinance issue or is it an enforcement issue? To at least get started.
And that's exactly my point.
Okay.
Is I would like to have that roundtable with all the departments that would be involved in this scenario, and then bring back what the outcome of that discussion was, so that we're getting for fact from those departments what's being done in this specific location, so that we can report it to you.
I also think it's not just that location. I've heard things about our other parks as well. This is the biggest one right now, and the Lot Home and Sink Park and all of the other. There are Pioneer Museum. I've been out at the Nature Center. There are a lot of parks that need attention. So overall, I hope that you talk about general ordinances of our city, specifically state ordinances and requirements as well, because from what I heard today, they simply don't exist. You cannot start a fire on state land. They'll come get you. So if they can enforce it, we can enforce it at our city level.
Commissioner Krantz?
So Brian and Stephanie, I was following this in real time. And I think the frustration that probably a lot of people from the public share is that even as the event was happening and Mr. Ballard was getting your attention, the person who started the fire stood there, has no fear of consequences. I think the root problem, no matter whose jurisdiction a park falls under, is that the public's frustration lies in that these people causing these problems are not fearful of consequences. They know nothing is really going to happen to them. So, and I'm glad that you're both okay.
I agree with that. Commissioner Jones?
Get a map of all the way from the Nature Center down to Riverbend Park of which jurisdiction is, or owners is in control of what section. I just personally heard from the Memorial Committee that Feather River has gotten an easement to make a path all the way from the Veterans Memorial to the Nature Center.
That's
Under the
correct.
bridge. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
I was elated with that. So I want to see, what does this patchwork look like?
It's ugly, but I'll send it to you.
We need to
And
know.
I
I'm sure everybody
can't-
here would like to know what it looks like too.
And for private, we can only identify those parcels as private, but we can let you know Feather River, City of Oroville, Butte County, and so on.
For the
It'd be
sake,
wonderful. Thank you.
Can it be made public? I believe we can make it public. It's a very pieced together map because it's such a long stretch of land.
for the sake of time, sorry to interrupt, but I want to just,
Continue on.
yes, we are on non-agenda items.
Our next speaker is Stephanie.
Thank you for listening to us. yesterday was very difficult. I appreciate everyone being here. This is actual sadness. It's not anger. It's not frustration. I lost my sister briefly. I got to see her, and she died suddenly about a month ago. So I've been dealing with that. And I came home the night before last to someone setting a fire in Bedrock Park because the barbecues are now gone, which is a good start because they're not supposed to have fires. I get it. But what's the next part, please? Because then now there's 3-foot fires just on the ground. Okay? So it's more than just one part. We called the fire department. They came. They didn't do anything. They didn't get out of the car. They didn't want to address the person. They didn't want to discuss it or anything. We had to keep engaging them. They said that this is overwhelmingly happening more and more, these warming fires that everybody goes this way about. Nobody knows. There's no jurisdiction from what they understand, or there's no ordinance. So that is the place that we really hope you'll start. I'd like to reiterate this individual who was arrested yesterday. We have dealt with him numerous times. We've called on him numerous times. He's been living in the back field, nesting, if you will. He started a fire behind our house on March 17th. We called. The police came, they drove by Bedrock Park. We had to wave him down. He's over here, he's here. Please come, get out of your car. Please come and engage this person. This is the same person. The police came, they looked, well, you can have warming fires. You can have a warming fire. It was like 65 degrees that night, right? It wasn't even late at night. This is an arson. The police did not engage the person. She left. This is an arson, right? On parole. We're calling, we're next to our house. And then yesterday happened. And how many fires around town has he been setting? I'm not sure, but from what I understand with this individual, the fire department has dealt with him many times. With the winds and everything, we really, really appreciate you hearing us about securing our parks and making them safe. As well, that space behind the levee, we're hoping this could become part of a regional trail, part of the trail system that works between Feather River Parks all the way to the Nature Center as a place where people can be safe up on the levee together and enjoy that space and want to come back to it. I think that's really, really the powerful message. Not come once and go, wow, that was interesting and kind of fun, but that was a little kind of, whoa, what was that part about? And if you go up on to Bedrock Park now, you're going to see mounds of debris that's all in little piles together, just ready to burn. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sandy Sanchez.
I just want to share with you my observations. I had a walk on Saturday night after 10 o'clock, and we saw what it appears to be a woman burning a small fire. And it was 3 of us. It was Mr. Ballard, Terry, and I. I didn't call the law enforcement or anything because I thought, well, she appeared to be a woman. I saw green grass. I thought it was just a warming fire. By the time I came home, I found out that this woman left the burning fire unattended. It appears that he was burning more than debris. It was probably drug related. And looking back, I think I should have called law enforcement. But then I'm thinking, who? Do I call the police? Do I call the fire department? Who do I call when I see something like that in the future? Because next time, even if I don't think it's dangerous, I'm going to call someone. Just sharing with you my lesson.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairperson, that's the last of the public speakers on non-agenda items.
Thank you. I'm going to touch on this issue a little bit later and see if we can come up with something workable this evening. Item number 3, back to regular business.
So item number 3 is in regards to the March 8th goals workshop that we had with this body. And we compiled those lists that you guys had made and put them into priority lists that you have on the next few pages of the agenda. And then we also have a response from Mr. Atterbury touching on several of the items that are currently either being done or in the process, or we are aware of and working on solutions for. We thought as staff that we would just continue to provide those updates for you, working through this list. You can see here that we broke it down with you guys in mind, for the number 1 being safety, number 2 being user-friendly development, number 3 being diligence, admin, communication, and number 4 being promotion. So staff will continue working through this list and providing updates like Wade has done this evening of items that are currently being done or being worked on, or like Ms. Nevers had said, have a roundtable with staff about levy issues. So I know that was a big priority as well on there. So this is more of just an update for you guys on items that are currently being worked on.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
I do not have any public speakers for this item.
Do we have any comment from the commissioners on this item? Commissioner Castro?
I see here discussion of number 1, safety. There is a separate page on priority 2, user-friendly development. Is there a page on 1, 3, and 4?
On the back of the page. So you got priority 1.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And then on the back of 2, you have priority 3.
And then we have Wade's letter.
And then Wade's letter.
Thank you.
Do we have any more comment from commissioners? Thank you, staff, for putting this together. Thank you, Wade, for the response. A lot of this stuff in Wade's response we've discussed and talked about previously. I'll just leave it at that. With no further comments for item number 3, we'll move on to item number 4.
Item number 4, we
Commissioner-
have,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Castro?
So we spent a lot of time on this workshop and we have a lot of information here. It sounds like we're going to be discussing levy, but there's 3 or 4 pages of other things here. How are we going to address some of those issues?
From
I
the
believe now
goals?
that you've received the consolidated and itemized list, I would like for the commissioners to digest it and pull it together, some items that you would like us to bring forward. Maybe we can discuss at another meeting safety as one staff report as a priority to review together. Further items, we can update you as far as what we're doing as staff for safety in the parks, and then we can discuss other recommendations to send to council for safety items. The same with priorities 2, 3, and 4. Continue to discuss those further. I can tell you with priority 4, there's going to be minimal there. We can promote internally, but the city of Oroville does not do events or organized recreational activities. Typically, that's other nonprofit groups, Feather River Recreation Park District, things like that. So that will be minimal, but we are bringing to council for the next meeting our marketing group that applied for our RFP to rebrand and market the city of Oroville so that we can have a more robust promotional program for the city.
One quick question to address some of these issues. How much is the city and Feather River Parks Recreation District spending a month on vandalism?
Vandalism, monthly, we typically do an annual report, so we haven't pulled those monthly figures yet. We would have that report for you at the June meeting, if not August meeting.
I think to adequately discuss some of these issues especially the security issue of the expense being over $5,000 a month, I'd like to know how much we're spending in vandalism as it is. And it could be more cost effective to pay the $5,000 a month than whatever it might be in the vandalism. So I'd like to have that information as soon as possible in order to make a good overall discussion of these with the public.
We will have the vandalism figures at the June meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other comments from the commissioners on this item? Those are very good observations, Commissioner Castro. All right, moving on to item number 4, sorry.
No problem. Item number 4 is a little bit more fun. So we have Melton Design Group with us this evening, and we are going to be discussing the statewide park grant that we did receive. It's been quite a while now. I feel like it's all a blur. We applied for it so long ago, but we did receive Phase 2 funding for Hewitt Park. So if you've seen the original renderings for that park, it's pretty much an overhaul of the whole thing of new and exciting things for it. So this evening, we have Melton Design Group with us. We have Greg and Aubrey, and they're going to be giving a presentation on the new renderings that we have available. So everything that was in the original rendering was approved. But now moving forward, it's kind of more into the details, if that makes sense. So we're getting down to like cost and everything is when we're gonna have to start making, a little tweaks here and there if needed. So this is just more of a detail-oriented meeting about a new rendering for the park. So I believe you guys all received, looks like large packets of some of the fun design boards and renderings for the park. So we're just gonna go over those this evening, and we did invite public to give input on these renderings. So we're gonna have them speak as well, I believe, after Greg's presentation. So, okay.
But just a reminder, there won't be any instrumental changes with this park design as it is. That would be a big change for the state to go back and review, causing further delays. So at this point, it's just moving forward with an explanation of what the most recent updates are
Yes.
and gathering community input.
And this is gonna be one of 2 public meetings, so we will hold the next one at the June Parks Commission as well for the public to come and see the next rendering.
And with that, we'll hand it over to Greg Melton, the designer of the park.
I am Greg. Glad to be here, and it's been a year plus since we wrote this grant and got it all out there, and I'm so excited that it came through. Northern California got several, so Chico, Oroville, Paradise, others north of us. So our whole North State's gonna get some influx of park and recreation money. And I know a lot of these people are very excited about it, as we had many of those evening meetings that were required as the Prop 68. And like Dawn said, the Prop 68 grant had a whole list of things that you'll see again here today. You probably saw it then. But that's what's key to getting into the project and meeting our budget. And so today I want to show you a new plan that adjusted and tweaked the plan originally that came from the grant. And then we will move forward from here, coming back in June with a much more revised plan, details, a full cost estimate, elevations, and pretty pictures of what actually is going in. And that'll hopefully come back for an approval. Then we can move on to construction drawings and get this out to bid this year. So I have the clicker here. So here's our site for anybody who, do I have a clicker here? Or
It's in that closet, so if it's having issues, it's over there. Like,
Oh, no.
Point it that way.
We don't have a pointer.
Okay, I do.
okay.
All right, okay,
It's,
And I don't know if
There.
the pointer's gonna work for the TVs.
okay.
I can mouse it if you tell me where your turn is.
All right, well, you're just gonna follow me then. To the right, to the left, no. So I think we're all pretty familiar with the site. Yep, so our goal with this is, as we build the park, is to maintain as many trees as we can, of course. Some trees will be altered or adjusted in that process. We may lose a few, but we really plan on planting a lot more, maybe trees more appropriate for the location they're gonna be at. This was the old park plan, and our new plan is very similar. We're just starting to really nail down space, and we have a topographic survey that'll be going on here in the next month to really dial in all the exact information for us to build from. But I think in most cases, from this master plan that was submitted to the grant to this master plan, we've got more brighter greens in our coloring. But we've made a few slight changes. So you with me? All right. So, yeah, we'll start there. See the red squirrely things there? Those are our slides. So we have an embankment slides there. Yes, sir.
Greg, right?
Yes, sir.
The most important part of the question that people are anxious about tonight, are the pickleball courts still there? And are they in the same place?
We got rid of the pickleball courts. Oh, just kidding.
I got tar and feathers out there.
Yeah. No, yes, the pickleball courts are, we'll start there. They're on the far left in the dark, kind of the cool green. We've got 8 of them. We've moved them a little bit from the original plan to save that deodar cedar and another tree. So the first one shifted down, but besides that, they're basically in the same location. We still have 8 of them. We will be meeting with you guys to discuss some of the details of the design. So we're all clear on fencing and spacing and distances between courts and everything like that. So I know everybody here's for pickleball now. Yeah. Anybody here for like the skate park that's going in?
Basketball.
Oh, okay. We don't have a skate park going in, so I'm glad. So yeah, pickleball, you're all in. We'll be having some workshop meetings where we'll get together with your group specifically to just make sure it fits what we talked about. The red wormy things on the bottom there are, there you go, are our on-grade slides. I show 3, we'll be doing 2. There's options on the 2 wormy ones on the sides. I think the one she's pointing at now on the right is a little too close to that house underneath. It's below the house, it kind of cuts under. The grade was better there, but I think we're a little too close there, so we'll probably end up with the 2 red slides to the left. And along with that, we'll have a walkway, stairway going down, and our goal is to get a handicap ramp down that. It's 30, 60, 90, 100, 240 feet of handicap ramp to go down the 20 feet of elevation change. So it's a good thing because then people in wheelchairs can get out and go down these slides, and mom and dad or brother and sister can wheel their chair down. And accessibility is part of the new inclusive word of getting something for everybody. So we'll be working through that with Dawn to make sure that our path works up there. Up on that top plaza while you're up there on Park Street, there we'll have a small little playground and a small little what we call slide plaza. So if you don't want to go all the way down into the park and you have a family and you want to just be up top with your toddler, there'll be a little play area up top and not have to drop down into the park. Engine number 1, I believe, is up there. And so that engine will stay. We're going to replace the chain link fencing that's around it now and put some nice metal picket fencing and some other decorative steel elements on it, which is all part of the art for the grant. That'll happen at the other train also, engine 164, up front. So both those engines will kind of get a facelift on access, not access, but protection around them, along with some brighter, more exciting information about each engine. So there's a little plaque now, but I think we're going to take it to the next step and go from there. There you go. The yellow she's pointing at now is a group picnic area under a big tree. So we're going to try to place some of these things under trees to minimize these shade structures and put more play in than shade. As you move there, blue, that's the purple there is our 5 to 12 playground, which I'm going to click real quick on. So this that 5 to 12 playground, we're looking at doing a tower, which we're calling Hewitt Station. So they'll say Hewitt Station up on the tower, really kind of capture the railroad theme and other elements. The railroad theme will be part of the spray ground that's in the park. So these are just examples of other spray grounds. So they definitely have, I think that rail engine there shoots water out the front of it, shoots water out the side of it. You can stand in the back and get out of the water. So it's just a real themed element there. Additionally, if you're looking in the very middle there, you can see the tracks running through, perfect. And kind of like these archways that have water dropping and dumping on you. There you go. So some of those will have a lot of water. Some of them will just be a real light rain curtain. So each one of those will be not each one of them, there'll be like probably 2 activators that turn on the different parts of the park. So if you're a little toddler playing on this little train and just want that water, you'll have to hit it, and then the water will run for 5-10 minutes, whatever we set it at. And then if you want the big gush of water, then you go over and hit this activator, and then that comes once the bucket fills up and dumps on you. So it's not running continuously is I guess what I'm getting at. You can see railroad crossing, other themes. It'll all be on concrete, and we even plan on putting a little railroad track theme running through the concrete. So you'll be able to run from one playground to a spray ground and continue that. Here's those pickleball people. That's what they wanted to talk about.
And that track will be basically like a walkway, correct?
It'll be
Like a painted walkway?
just concrete colored, different concrete
Okay.
colors. So, or painted, it all depends how we build that. So, yeah, no real tracks in there. Yeah. So you see a lot of bright colors here, obviously. So this is pickleball courts and our basketball courts kind of in one piece here. And the upper left is basketball. So all we're showing is here, we don't have to do basketball with just gray concrete. If we want to spice it up a little bit, we don't need to go quite to that extreme, or the one in the bottom right, but we can do things to make the game a little more enjoyable when you get on these courts and it's not just a black asphalt. In most cases, these are just an epoxy resin paint that goes down and that maintenance would be able to assess. And while I said the maintenance word, we are required per grant to maintain this park for 30 years. So if ideas come up like this and we talk to maintenance and it says, hey, we're not gonna be able to handle that, then you may not get this idea show up in the park, because we don't wanna create more of a problem for something that maybe looks good for 10 years. So maintenance is a big important part of Parks and Recreation, just like painting pickleball courts every several years to make sure that, we have the right sealant, there's cracks being filled and things like that. So, the life cycle, we call it a life cycle analysis, will be brought to you because at some point you'll have to replace pickleball nets. Fencing will need repairing. So we need to put into our budgets as time goes on, different dollars for that.
I'd like to, bench design. It's a big, pardon?
Oh, no, you're
Because that's a bone of contention over many jurisdictions, exactly what the bench will be. They don't want the disaffected labeling as their own, but yet they want to have access to the person. So I think we should see what the design is.
Okay, yeah, the benches, tables, trash cans, all the above. The city will have a standard that they already have that we want to either change or upgrade. So all of the benches, tables, picnic areas are very similar throughout the whole city. So we're not buying 10 different variety of benches and things like that. So this next meeting that we will be coming to you, we'll have all those details of tables, benches, et cetera, to be able to show you. So, and we'll have workshop meetings in between that, so we make sure we're looking at all those.
Do any of your renderings or plans here include what the bathrooms will look like?
You currently have a bathroom, and we're going to retain that bathroom. We're going to put in new stainless steel fixtures inside the bathroom. And then we're actually going to add a building onto the back of it for the storage for all the spray ground equipment. So there'll be a enclosed spray ground pump house, basically, for the restroom.
Will that be the only restroom at the facility?
Yes.
Commissioner Castro?
Is that restroom included in the fencing area, or is it external to the fencing?
It still remains in the center of the park as it is, as it exists today.
It'll stay where it's at.
Yeah.
Here.
Currently the red square.
I thought it was here.
No, it's got a line going to it, so this will be added, this back square will be added to
Oh, I
the
was looking
existing
at this.
restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, so the restroom has to be,
That's what I was thinking.
You pickleball people, you need more restrooms? That looks like a small
It may
restroom.
look small, but it has plenty of toilets and units to handle everybody between games.
Awesome. I was just wondering if it was getting a different bathroom, if I like the idea that had been discussed before, like I don't even want to say the word, but the Portland Lose.
Portland, not for this park.
Right, but the design features of that so that there's no way for people to sleep in there.
Right.
You know, those kind of things. So I just want to see if anything was included in here for that.
You know, as we look at project budget and which we originally thought that we would just be updating this one and replacing fixtures instead of creating the individual stalls for each toilet, that would be a whole different unit at that point. We can look at that when we're looking at the budgets, and if it's super important, then we can make the adjustment, take this one out or add to this one and make part of this one the storage for the pump house. So
I am perfectly happy, personally, I'm perfectly happy with whatever Wade and the parks folks think will be best served down there.
right.
Well, the structure of this existing restroom is in good condition. It's just the replacement of those fixtures on the interior and a fresh coat of paint, probably an epoxy or paint on the floor, and it'll be a new restroom again. Wade, did you want to comment?
We'll need new partitions for it as well.
Yes.
But we're also looking at a central control system that could potentially have automatic door lock mechanisms on the bathrooms to lock them up at night, control lighting, and control like the water for the spray zones, along with like the irrigation system and things like that. That's something we're looking at for this park. So yes, I like the idea of possibly getting away from the stone and mortar bathroom structure. But if we can include this technology, it might be a good place to try it under this grant to see the capabilities of it, to expand it.
No problem. Where were we? We were pickleball. So, you know, the whole park will have a theme at some point. So we'll be determining the colors of the different concretes or asphalt features that create the pickleball courts, the basketball courts, et cetera. We've also looked at the basketball court. If you see the upper right-hand corner there, creating the basketball court to be a multi-use court. So that's a football court, a futsal court that you see there. So what we are looking at doing is putting a 4-foot fence around the basketball court with soccer goals on each end. So it becomes what you call a futsal court or indoor soccer. So the courts won't only be used for basketball. You'll be able to do some pickup soccer there with 3-on-3, 5-on-5, and turning 2 basketball courts into a futsal court. And that allows us to have a low fence. You can see the bright blue up top there. So the basketball will be going north-south and the futsal would go east-west. And so, yes, there would be maybe if someone's playing futsal and someone wanted to play basketball, can that happen? We were adding the top little circle there. If there's someone wanting to shoot balls or play one-on-one or something, there's a place for that to happen while the futsal's going on. And they negotiate how long they're going to play. So we're just looking at really multi-using that space. It'll be a heavy gauge chain link fence around the perimeter of it. And then on the ends, there will be, you can see that blue board on the back in the middle picture, right? So there's a soccer goal right in front of there. And then the basketball hoop, which is cut off, is right above. I'm sorry, there's no basketball going this way. But so you basically have just a raised end, so if someone kicks the ball, it won't go over the 4-foot fence. So it doesn't feel like it's a big 8-foot fenced cage, but it's just nice and low and multi-use. So has anybody seen any of that before? Right. It's starting to happen a lot because we see basketball being used partially, but a lot. But then the soccer players either on fields, and when it's wet in the winter, you can't really do much. And it's hard to get big groups of people to play soccer at one time. So the 3-on-3, 4-on-4 can be played here, and you get really good training. And then if you just want to bring your kids, it's even better. So
What kind of floor is that?
It's concrete. So it's not a turf floor. So your knees get banged up a little bit, but you learn how not to fall. And you learn how not to like tackle by diving and kicking the ball. So, oops, double click. The slides, like we talked about before, you can see our goal here is to create two different types of slides. One like the ones on the top left coming diagonally, the wide multi-person slide. That'll be about 20 feet long. We'll have two of those. They're 10 feet high, so higher than, about a little lower than the ceiling, down. So it's about a 22-foot actual slide length. So that'll be really fun. And then on some of the steeper areas, we'll do something like the one in the orange, to where you're coming down the hillside. It's a pretty steep 2-to-1 slope, but it'll have little waves in it, keeps you in the slide. And if you fall off, you fall this far onto the side of the hill and roll down. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's stairs going up to it and there'll also be rocks and boulders you can climb up the hillside to come back down. So I think it'll be a great element to take that hill that's always just been kind of eroding away. We'll gain really erosion control on the whole hillside by putting these on, and then a lot of boulders and logs and things like that. So it'll be quite a fun space. And then just for all you slide people, we will be facing it north to northeast. And so in most cases, the sun is setting in the northwest at the very end of the day. We have some great big trees, so I'm really not concerned about the sun shining directly on it as it gets later in the day. Of course, in the midday, we're going to get direct sun straight down. So that's where we're proposing to do these slides in concrete and plastic, so not stainless steel. The dog park, we have a big dog and little dog park. In this case, we're going to have, like I said, water for both of them. We'll have some little event areas for both of them. So if you want your dog to run through a little tunnel, jump through a hoop, we'll have some bulletproof pieces like that. And then the surface in the dog park will be like a decomposed granite material. So it'll be a great place. We'll have a lot of shade for the spectators and dogs, trees and shade structures. So you'll be able to sit around, sit on a bench, sit on a table, watch your dog play. I think dog parks are more spectator sports for the dog owners, and the dogs just run around and have a great time. So it's important that we have a lot of seating and shade for that process.
And just a reminder for the dog park that this has its own separate access off of Darrell Porter Way, because dogs aren't allowed in our public parks. But they will have a point to where they can access. Families can go down there. One person can stay with the dog, and the families can go play in the park, and everybody still has an opportunity to get outdoors.
So there'll be a link between the two parks.
There will be a link between the two parks.
Yeah, so you'll have the dog park on one side, small dog, large dog. There'll be a little gate in between. And then, there's the big turf area if you want to run your dog out on the turf. If no one's around to have a problem, that's more than fine. And we'll have the doggy bags and everything else that go with it, and drinking fountains and the whole 9 yards. So, questions and answers?
Is there any shade structures at the dog park?
Yes.
For the patrons?
We have two different locations for shade structures, which will have tables underneath them. And then we have several trees that'll be planted also. Gonna have to revegetate the park a little bit. The trees over time haven't been revegetated, so.
Awesome.
So I think we should do public comment.
I have a question.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers on this item?
Mr. Chairperson, Beth Billow.
We're gonna hear public comment before we get into commission comments. Were you waiting for something specific, Beth?
No, I just wanted to say, hey, this is like Christmas for me, because I've been going to a lot of meetings, starting at city council, yelling out 002, time is in, and getting their attention. And Greg was really great and open to work with last year in the workshops. And pickleball is finally really starting to take off here Like I was saying, years before COVID, it's growing. I've seen it. I had refereed 6 United States Pickleball Association sanctioned tournaments. Was down that path. COVID came along, still playing pickleball. I got certified last year through International Pickleball Teaching Professional Association, and I'm a low-level certified instructor through them. And with that, I volunteered all through fall into winter, and have brought about 20 people into pickleball in this community. And some of them here are tonight. Great. And finally, at the end of this month, I'm having my first formal class through the Feather River Recreation and Parks District. But between the new group, I have brought in about 20 people. We had actually 18 people there today with just primarily women's group, our group. We've been playing Tuesday, Thursday, they've been playing on their own. They have their own wings. I'm not really helping them very much. I'm not helping them. They have their own wings. And so we had that, and then we had a new person come in today, said, hey, I just learned how to play pickleball back east when I was visiting my mom. So he'll be joining us. So now we have about 20 people. The existing group has about anywhere from a dozen to maybe 16 regular players. We could fill up 8 courts. I mean, we're already outgrown our courts, and they aren't even built yet. But I'm super excited because when we get these formal courts, we can start having women's leagues, men's leagues, mixed double leagues. We can get our ratings. I'd love to be involved with that. I'd love to see us group together, have tournaments. Chico next month is having a tournament. As of last night, they have 6 courts there? 6 courts. And they're going to line some, anyways, they have 181 already signed up to go in that tournament.
Wow.
And this another dream just out there. My best friend growing up, she's in a wheelchair. I really like adaptive sports. It's not really a big thing, but last month I was on the courts and there's a gal there and she's a
Time.
and anyway.
Go ahead, finish that sentence.
I hit the ball with her, and with that, I've been in contact. I have people back east that we have a adaptive wheelchair tournament. They would come from North Carolina and come play in the tournament.
Wow.
I know there's people in Sacramento.
Beth, thank you for being so passionate. You did say that this was going to be a growing local sport, and I now believe you. Do we have any other public speakers?
Mr. Chairperson, that's the only blue speaker card I have.
Ma'am, sitting next to Beth, you had something to say. Would you like to come up and say? Can you come up to the mic?
Yeah, I just have a question. What's going on, and so impressive and so wonderful for Oroville. Wade knows me personally, and my first question that I saw was the splash park. Where's the water coming from?
Greg can answer that. Well, it's coming Cal water. Totally recirculable, so it'll recirculate continuously as it runs. It'll turn off and then people will activate it. So it's
Okay.
just recirculating a 4,000-gallon tank.
Okay. My knowledge, my question. Yeah.
Did anyone else have a question?
No, it's not relevant anymore.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
Sure.
Where the water fountains and everything are gonna be in the park?
Sure.
Water fountains as in drinking fountains?
Correct.
So the drinking fountains will be I think there's the one at the restroom and then we'll have one centrally located. Right, so there's one there and then there'll be one probably over by the purple playground that's, somewhere in that area. It's close to pickleball and close to everything else.
Okay.
And it'll have a bottle filler and all
And it won't be filled out of the 4,000 gallon recycled tank. Are there any other questions from the public? Comments? Commissioner Castro?
I am wondering the hours of this park and will it be consistent with dawn to dusk? But I'm very excited. There's timed lighting, which means we can play past dusk. So I'm just questioning where the other lighting is or the hours of the park in general.
So the hours of the park are consistent with all of our other parks, dawn to dusk. The timed lighting was a request and recommendation from other public commenters to have the green field area in the winter months to be able to play later than 5 p.m. Pickup game of soccer, whatever it may be. We had considered that, and that's something we will have to bring back to the Park Commission for approval to extend those hours for that specific, for this specific park to have a hard shut off at, say, 9 p.m. to be respectful of the neighbors up the hill.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krantz?
Greg, I really like the steel cutouts. My question is, are they freestanding or are they backed by some material? And if they are freestanding, how are they attached?
Yeah, so the steel cutouts on the dog fence or their train will be attached to those fences directly. And then in the playground, we'll probably have steel cutouts that are anchored to a footing. That'll have some theme elements to it. Some of our interpretive panels will also be a steel cutout that's just made out of raw material, and then the panel will be put onto that. So both answers, a footing on some, and then some will be attached to fencing.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other, Commissioner Castro?
I have one more. What is the outfall pool?
What?
So in the upper right corner, middle right corner, yeah, right there by that orange area right there. That was a note that we had on the meeting to discuss that we have people dumping their pool water directly into the park.
Yes.
So it disappears into the soil, but you know, as you flush your pool, the water's got to go somewhere, and it's probably been happening forever. We just have to somehow manage that appropriately.
And that's where we would have code enforcement have a conversation with that homeowner.
So that was not mainly made for you guys, but for staff. So
Good eyes,
So-
Kay.
now you know what that is.
Greg, before you sit down, I'm sure commissioners in the audience would also like to know anticipated groundbreaking and anticipated completion.
Sure. From today on, like I said, we'll be back in June, so we'll have multiple staff meetings and design meetings between now and then. And in June, we'll have a completed master plan with cut sheets of all materials. We've had selected the vendors, what play equipment, what cutouts will be on all those fences, what art will be there. So in June, we're hoping to get an approval on the park with conditions, because there's always a little adjustments, right? And then from that, you'll get an update after June with the final plan and budget. And at that point, we'll move on to construction drawings, which will be July, August, September, October. And we're hoping to go out to bid before Christmas for a spring build. So that would go through about a 3 or 4 month bidding award process to contractors. And then when it rains all winter next year, it'll be great. And then in March or April, when the rains go away, we'll have construction starting. And that's a 4 to 6 month process based on a park this size. So we'll be here end of next summer, having a groundbreaking. However, we may do the groundbreaking previous to that, and we'll make that up. But it will happen sometime in 2023 when we do that. And the state wants to come up. The people who helped with the grant and the people that led the grant writing will come up. There'll be a full-on party at the park.
Yes.
Sponsored by Pickleball.
Our new Adopt a Park folks.
Right.
Yes.
So for you guys, there'll be, in June, we'll be back So you can see more, the next version of this, which will be like 99% complete at that point for design, a conceptual design, and then we'll, like I said, we'll go into construction drawings from there, so.
So this is actually considered one of the public meetings for this grant, correct?
Yes. So we
So-
had 4 public meetings prior to application submittal. And the first one was here with Park Commission, and then we had 3 others. Was it 3? There were several.
22?
22,
I don't
there
know,
was a lot.
of them. Yeah.
And then this is post-application award or post-grant award. We have to have more community meetings just to keep the public apprised of what's taking place.
It's more update than, like we said in the beginning, we can't change the elements that are in the park because that's what they agreed to fund. And what we got rated on and our points scored on. So if we change that, then they would have to look, well, you don't know, you no longer beat the park that that didn't score as well as you because you had 8 pickleball courts, right? So.
I wonder how many other parks had pickleball courts now.
Everyone that I drew have pickleball courts.
Really?
Yeah, they're
Very good.
everywhere.
And you're ahead with that
Futsal.
I heard that they were they were doing that at Bedrock the other night.
They were playing it.
They were playing, they had soccer.
Oh, right.
Probably.
So, yeah, it's a lot of fun for really skilled soccer players too, because it's so close and it's like indoor soccer off the wall, kind of works the balls really fast. So it'll be real popular.
Except for don't fall down.
Knee pads.
So just to reiterate, this is the public meeting for this. So if anybody else does have anything, now is your time. If you want to comment, questions, curiosities, no?
I'd just like to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for considering it and all the work that you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great thing for this community.
Are you gonna be looking for volunteers or setting up something for people to help with the project? I'd like to.
Yes, we do. In our grant, we had to have volunteers. We got the CCC is going to be coming and working in the park, so that was part of the requirement. And there'll be a point where we will need volunteers during construction to fulfill our grant requirement. I'm not remember how many people we said, but we'll have to look at that.
I think for that, we can put a call out on Facebook or our social media and for volunteers when the time comes.
And that'll be probably at that time during the later parts of construction when we have a planting day or something like that that people can do easily and safely,
So my only question right now is, for the construction of this, are they gonna shut the whole park down, the whole border of the park completely when they decide to start?
I want to say, most of the times we have to do that. If we were to leave the parking lot open and say basketball courts operating or something, the contractor would have an issue because then all of a sudden, I think we're gonna have to close the park for those 4 to 6 months.
For the safety of the public, it would be beneficial
Yeah.
to close the park completely. And what we can do is have a large coming soon sign at the front of the park.
Very good.
Like right now, they walk out their front gate to get to this, and we talked about that last time we were there, that, maybe they need a side gate to get to the parking lot. So they don't have to go through the vehicle, into the vehicle zone there, so we've talked about that. And there'll be, like I said, the next time we come back, there'll be a lot more renderings and pretty 3D visions of what this is gonna look like. Where here, you're just seeing pictures of what it's gonna look like from other places. So this will be a good one for the next meeting, so be sure to all show up.
And is that gonna be held during a park commission meeting?
Yep,
Okay.
in June.
Yes?
Hi, this is wonderful, I haven't seen this.
Can you come to the mic, please?
You want me to come up? Okay, sure, I'm sorry. Thank you, I'll join you.
That way, when we look back on the
Absolutely.
video, we can hear.
Okay, absolutely. I haven't got to see this yet, and it's wonderful. We live next to the tennis courts. So we love the pickleballers, and we will miss you. And please come back to the tennis courts anytime you want, all day, all night. seriously love having the people at the tennis courts, using the tennis courts. I did want to ask, because we're having all the issues with the parks, as far as safety, incidents, things like that, safety features, are there going to be cameras, things like that? Is there, just thinking ahead a little bit, considering the experience that we have now? And again, since we haven't got to join in on this before, if you could review that for me on how that works, on what you guys have
Well, we
planned.
currently have a camera there, right? Yes. On top, yeah. We currently have a single camera, and we'll be adding more cameras to this site. And so it'll be very, very visible from that aspect.
Greg? I have one other question. In the first drawings you had, I see it's changed a little bit. Is there going to be any kind of benches with the covering similar to what Chico has?
Yeah, there'll be shade.
Like the little
Shade and
benches where
seating and little kiosks for you to put your tournament schedules in and fun things like that.
Our paddles, because, I mean, like I said, we're already like, I can already see wait times.
That's why we have the tennis courts, right? Feather River says you guys were getting in fights, the beginners against the veterans. You guys, look at this. Come on, you got to get these beginners to learn how to play. Anyway, yeah, we have shade kiosks there.
All I see are beginners here.
There you go.
Oh. What makes them think that they're, just because they've been playing longer doesn't mean that they're better.
I'm gonna let you guys hash that out.
This group warms up, they're better dinkers. They're better dinkers.
Dinkers. Oh, okay.
The other group.
So there's a whole vocabulary.
More than you want to know.
Okay. Good, so I probably need to do a meeting at the pickleball court some Saturday morning to talk about what you guys want. Or whatever day you're there. Okay,
I'll give you
you can find me.
I have your email.
Good.
I do want to touch back really quick on Stephanie's comment, which my understanding of.
Gotta go.
Have a good evening.
The camera.
So you're talking about during the construction of or after? Okay.
The cameras. Yeah, so we currently have one and we'll have more.
So the only one that is there right now is, my understanding, is linked to dispatch center, which dispatch center is being remodeled right now, so there's, chief might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe anybody's monitoring them right now.
I believe the cameras are still set up in dispatch, even though dispatch has been temporarily relocated in
Okay.
another part of the building.
That's, okay. That's better.
And we'll probably have more than one at that time also, because our park is now gonna have a lot more use areas all around it.
We call those hiding areas.
Hopefully they'll be visible now, so.
All right, if there's nothing else from the park commission? Nothing? That was just informational, correct?
Yeah, thank you so much to Greg and Aubrey for coming. And like we said, the next community meeting will have more renderings, more details. We'll be at our next meeting, which is June 14th. Yes, same time, 5:15. So we will invite them back for the next one.
Thank you guys for your work. All right. The pickleballers, are you staying for the rest of the meeting? I'll give you guys a second to go before I.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to me. There you go, feel free to contact me. You want to learn how to play pickleball?
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much. Thank you, I could give you a hug. Thank you so much. You just made a, like a
Happy.
Disneyland, man.
Happy.
Thank you, it looks great, thank you, we'll be in touch.
All right, moving on to item number 5, administration reports backlog.
So we're bringing forward the backlog that we do at each meeting. And there also was discussion at the last meeting about possibly changing the name of this report. So I don't think we came to a conclusion, so I wanted to kind of bring that back up if we would like to change the name of it. Someone didn't like backlog, I think, so. Do we want to change that now that we're discussing this list?
There you go.
I think that comment came from the public.
Okay.
In reality, because they didn't understand what the word backlog meant. And so I agree. So I think activity log, current, I mean, I know you can wordsmith it to death, but current activity log, really, backlog is something we haven't done and it's all done and backed up.
Okay.
So current activity log. Start.
Yes, yes.
Sound good to the rest of this body? That's fine with us. We don't mind changing that at all. So keep it as a park commission
Report activity
report
log.
activity log. We like that better. Okay, so moving forward with our report activity log. We've kept the same items that we go over each time on there: adopt a park, teen docent program. Vandalism report was requested to come back at the next meeting, which we will do, have an update on that. Website updates are always ongoing. We have seen a few changes that we need to make. We were looking over it this week, so we will make those as well, if there are any others. I've also added Hewitt Park just because we were discussing it today and we have next meeting. We'll keep you guys involved in any of those side meetings that he said they will be having as well. If he wants to, does want to meet with pickleball to discuss those things, we can invite a park commissioner to that. And then moving forward with the one item that was requested to go to council by this body was the docent and museums. So we kind of wanted to go back to that discussion and talk about it a little bit more to get that on the next council agenda to see what this body is looking for regarding the museums and docents and how you would like to see that look. I kind of just wanted to bring that forward so we can talk about that again.
Commissioner Castro.
The Exchange Club had adopted Bedrock Park over in June of last year. So when you say no applications received to date, did that application get lost, or are we?
I'll find it.
Because 2 or 3 of our members do a regular cleanup down there every week. And I'm Stephanie and Brian and I'm on the Exchange Club, and we're making them very aware and seeing how we can help. So we are the official Adopt the Park for Bedrock, and we'd like to help. And we do have a meeting tomorrow, so I'd like to bring this up.
Yeah, that one was received.
I believe it was received, and yeah, you're right. I think it came to this body for approval already. So
There's no new applications
I think maybe that needs to say
received
new.
to date.
Okay, well, I think we should add to our current activity report that the Exchange Club has adopted
Yes,
Bedrock
that
Park.
should be
not
added.
No applications received.
Right.
Okay.
That should be added. That's
Thank you.
correct.
And on the teen docent program, I understand the school district is no longer requiring the volunteer hours, but how and where else is it being promoted? Are there any other clubs like Axiom or Boys and Girls Clubs where we are actively trying to get the youth involved?
So that hasn't been promoted yet. Now that things have pretty much fully reopened, we will be promoting that program.
Yes, so making note, Axiom Boys and Girls Clubs, or Boys and Girl Club, I would say YMCA.
Okay, great, thank you.
Live spot.
Live Spot.
Yep.
So the vandalism report number 3 that was requested for April 15th has been moved to June 14th?
Because we do it annually.
Yes.
So we wanted to give you a full year's review of what that vandalism activity is.
Okay.
And I apologize, I don't remember it being requested specifically for this meeting. I thought it was agreed that it would be for the June meeting.
I can't
So
remember
what's
what it,
April 15th then, on this report? It says, Vandalism report at the April 15th meeting. That was last year?
It was going to be a verbal
I think it was
report.
a verbal.
there was something we was working on last meeting that we requested this report for this meeting for. And I can't remember off the top of my head what it was for at the moment. We just needed the numbers off of that. We didn't need the full report, but for some reason we needed
I
the
must have
numbers.
missed that. I apologize with the workshop in between. So I'll go back and look at that on our notes and
Is there another
rewatch the
meeting
video.
April 15th?
No.
The April 15th meeting,
No, it's on there because we'd requested it to come here.
on April 12th.
Oh, I
Today.
see what you're saying.
15th is Friday.
That might be a typo in my.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. I have FOMO.
I'll look it up for you. Okay?
So I'm very excited and want to emphasize that we do get that on the June 14th meeting and not push that till August. So I just want to put that word in there.
Yes,
on
per your
number-
request, we're gonna move it to the June 14th.
Because Miss Daly will be on maternity leave, I will have Mr. Atterbury provide that report.
Oh, I can't wait. Number 4, it says at the last sentence, new parks commissions have been updated. And I don't understand what that sentence-
Commissioners, it's another error.
Okay. Thank you. And the docent museums will be taken to the council April 19th?
Well,
So
that's where we are
the discussion
requesting
we need to talk
clarification.
about.
All right, I'll let you all discuss. I'll stop talking.
So really what we're looking for is what does that look like for you? So if the park commissioners, I'm sorry.
I have Commissioner Krantz in queue.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll wait because I think you might be answering my question.
Thank you for that. So we're just wondering as staff, as we started typing the staff report, we were wondering what responsibilities the park commission is wanting to take on as far as the museums go. What does this look like to the park commission?
So my understanding of all the conversations that we've had from when it was the three of us here at Park Commission, and then the conversations we've had as a full commission to date, my understanding is that with all of the museum updates, a lot of the, I'm gonna call it decisions, things that have been brought to the commission for the museums, but the museums doesn't fall under our purview. I think the request is that we request that the museums themselves, not just the parks thereof, but the museums be put under the park's purview so that we can make recommendation to council for museum items, with it being a part of our purview, is my understanding, and please correct me if.
That was my understanding.
Okay, so I can answer this in a little bit of extent, but because we were going to be hiring the curator as well, which the person that we had in background ended up falling through, that didn't work out, so we are promoting that position again. We're doing flyers, we're going in multiple locations
I have
with
one
that.
question to ask with that. Is it a
Yes.
full-time or a part-time position?
Full-time position.
Okay, your online application says both.
It was brought to my attention. I believe it's been fixed.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I.
It is a full-time
I believe it was
position.
fixed on, what's today? Tuesday? I think it was fixed on Monday. So
Okay.
I'll double check it though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that person will be taking over the responsibility of the museums and will report directly to community development, who reports directly to administration and council. So that's where we were still leaving that museum portion out of the park commission. Also with the museums, because they are somewhat run by the Docents Association, those docents also answer or report directly to the administration or community development, and then thereby administration and city council. So it was just trying to keep that clean as far as that goes, but then into the extent part of it, where we had the discussion regarding the charter, and the museums don't fall under the purview of the park commission because it's not in the charter. Well, when the charter was adopted, there wasn't any museums that the city oversaw. But then over the years, with the park responsibility or park policies and procedures, it was kind of incorporated that the park commission could accept museum donations and recommend those accepted donations to the council for final approval. So there's kind of that gray area again with the museums as far as it goes with the park commission. So that's really where we wanted to see what exactly the park commission had in mind when they wanted to pull the museums into their purview.
So here's basically what I personally am looking at. Basically, like we had municipal auditorium when I first started on the park commission. We were hearing about municipal auditorium and making recommendations for municipal auditorium, and come to find out the municipal auditorium had nothing to do with the Parks Commission. So to save staff time for Parks Commission meetings, to save commissioner time, to save meeting time, if the museums aren't going to be under our purview, I don't find it in the interest of the Parks Commission for us to
Discuss anything museum related.
museum-related.
Got it.
Which that is the opposite of what we hope for. We do want to take the museums under our wing and be able to advocate for them and
Well, you guys can still advocate for the museums. There's no saying that because you're the park commission, you oversee parks, you can't advocate for the museums. We're all still citizens of Oroville.
Right. My meaning behind that is, for instance, like the Lot Home and Sink Park, they go hand in hand.
Yes.
Right. I believe the Chinese Museum has a park area. The Parks Department is who works on the museums and the greeneries and the parks thereof. So that was the thought behind the commission's request to have the museums put into the purview of the Parks Commission.
Okay. But just to reiterate again, that the Parks Commission has oversight over the rules of the parks and not the maintenance per se, because that still falls under the Parks Department specifically.
Right.
So again, there's that muddiness between the two. I know, it's difficult.
And I think Commissioner Castro will agree that the biggest part of us trying to take under our wing the museums was just the long time so far of the docents not having that direct contact with liaisons for the city or whatever, that we were ready to take them under our wing.
Well, but that's the thing. Well, the Park Commission, same as the council, cannot direct staff. So they cannot direct the docents because the docents are an extension of the staff.
Right.
The docents have a direct contact with, in just a moment, Wade. The docents have a direct contact with myself, with Wade, with Jordan. We talk to them weekly. So for
Now, yes.
yes, we had a lag in staff or an absence of staff at one point. That is no longer the case. They have advocates. So the docents have to remain under city staff and administration. They can't be under the purview of the Park Commission because that would be in violation of our ordinances. So we have to kind of pull the docents out. Advocation of the Docents Association, we're all for, but oversight has to be removed.
So then, Commissioner Castro.
One of the biggest discussions that we had with Mr. Huber was regarding the charter.
Right.
And in one paragraph, it says that all fees will be going from parks will be going to the credit of the Department of Parks in a fund to be known as the Park Fund. But the next paragraph in the charter says the Board of Park Commissioners shall have power to control and order in the manner the charter provided the expenditure of all money coming into the Park Fund. But we have not had any money going into that Park Fund.
That's correct.
This would be a good opportunity to follow our current charter and put the parks money within the Park Commission and still allow the Parks Department to be doing the maintenance and coordinating those kinds of issues. It might tighten up what we already have in our charter.
And I don't have that wording in front of me, so I don't recall, I apologize. But there, I know there was something specific to how that funding was allocated to that park fund, and we don't have the mechanism for that. as a
I'd
part
like
of-
to see that mechanism in place as part of the discussion.
Okay.
So right now, my understanding right now was that anything that is donated to the parks monetarily, or any reservations for the parks, any of that nature, goes directly to the general fund.
It depends on the donation, how it's donated, and what the specifics of that donation are. Somebody can donate $5,000 to the Chinese Museum, and they can specifically say, I want it to be for this display case this year. And it can only be used for that. Or they can say, in general, for the Parks Department, to be used for whatever. So it depends. It's case by case on how that is received.
And it's in the charter that the fees for the rentals and those should go to the park. This is from Huber. I can give you.
Right,
my
no, I
copy.
know.
So, I know we've had
I
this
just
discussion.
don't want to
Just
expand too
want
much
some
on it because I don't have the
clarification.
information in front of me at the
Okay,
moment.
thank you, thank you. Just.
I don't want to
think-
misspeak.
Think about it, thank you.
Commissioner Krantz?
So I'm going to ask for clarification through an example.
Okay.
When we were given the presentation for borrowing pieces from the Chinese temple, were we given that presentation strictly as the Parks Commission, or were we asked to entertain a request on behalf of the museums?
Ask to entertain a request on behalf of
To
the
borrow,
museums.
to borrow pieces from the museum.
Correct. And then to send that recommendation to council.
So we have received and discussed and presented through the museums at various times.
Right.
Where then does the distinction come from where we are not asked to make decisions representing the museums and when we are asked to make decisions? Because we have meetings like that and we listen to the presentation and we get really excited about it, and then we give our recommendation, and then maybe one meeting later we find out that some other concern we have about the museums has nothing to do with us.
Well, unfortunately, it's gone back and forth over many years to where things have been brought to the Park Commission
Right.
related to the museums, and then they haven't.
So I guess my question is, and we really appreciated the presentation from Mr. Huber, what needs to be done to once and for all make the decision?
Well, and that's where I'm requesting clarification as to what specifically the Park Commission would like or the oversight of these museums. What are specific details? Because I think the council will ask what specifically you would like to oversee. The donations, the maintenance of the museums, what are the specifics? I think I just need to have something a little more concrete than the Park Commission would like to oversee the museums. I think they just want a little more.
So would it be feasible then, are you done? I'm sorry. Would it be feasible then to ask I'm going to use the word adopt, to ask for the Park Commission to adopt the museums in the same manner as we oversee the parks? Because we have our Parks Department, and we have our Parks Commission, and the
Right.
things that we do here for the recommendations we make now, we would do the same thing for museums, but it
Right.
would then just be under our purview.
So for the parks, it would be hours of operation, rules and regulations for the parks. And I think, I'm sorry, fees. And those are what would be
And
under
then, obviously, the donation,
donation acceptance, that would be in addition to.
the surplus, I guess you would call it, when we get items that are
That are
donated, but-
deaccessioned
Yes,
from the museums that are no longer of museum quality.
we've done that too.
Yes.
So I think that's basically what we're talking about. It's not so much command and control over the functionality. It's more to adopt that.
Generalities.
Right.
Okay.
If we're going to do the things we've been doing as the park commission that we do for the museums during our meetings, I'd rather it be under our purview in that manner. And if it's not, I would rather not waste time on it anymore.
Okay. So if we bring this to the city council for the April 19th meeting, excuse me.
No.
Second meeting in May, okay. It'd be the second meeting in May. Chairperson Riley, would you be available to also provide comment?
Possibly. Let me ask Commissioner Jones, you have comment?
So
Oh,
I'll do
okay.
that afterwards.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And Bobby, I was,
Do we have input? We can't talk to each other. Can we talk to you individually about Hubert's document with specific questions
Yes.
on what we want addressed?
Yes.
Because if we're not gonna have another meeting until June 14th and you're presenting this, our recommendation to council, I'm uncomfortable a little bit in how you're gonna gather the information from the commissioners.
That's
I
our
never want to
discussion right
delay
now.
anything, but
Right, but I've gathered some of the information today, so
I have written down you're interested in hours, donations, fees, and maintenance. Does
And
that sound correct?
That's not monetary donations, that's.
Yeah,
Artifactual.
artifact donations.
Donations. Basically, everything that the park commission has been tasked with doing, just as a,
equally with the
precedence has been
museums.
set kind of thing, that the park commission has already been doing to put under the park commission.
Commissioners, I would also recommend if you haven't to read through the parks policies that you received at the last meeting, because some of those items that have been brought to you are because there is a policy in place
Right.
that brings those items to you.
And I think that's what we are also trying to clean up, because there are those things that say that, but then that's not really under our purview per other areas of written literature.
And that's where that gray area falls, yeah.
Right, so we just want clarification, basically. Can we do this? Can we not? If we're not, let's fix where it says that it must, and we can move forward with that.
Or even moving forward with specifically what the policies, the park policies and procedures state. With the oversight of the acceptance of donated artifacts, and there was another one in there.
The deaccession one is also.
Well, deaccession, that would be acceptance and deaccession of artifacts.
So city municipal code says, the city park commission shall designate the hours of closing for each park, et cetera, et cetera. But you said previously those hours for Hewitt Park were already set. We didn't really discuss that here.
They're
No, no,
already
no.
set because
Those are-
it's an existing
It's an
park.
existing park.
Yeah, the hours are already set for that park. They will remain the same one for now, unless we bring it back. They will remain the same.
What we were talking about
Bringing the
discussing
lighting back.
was, yeah, if we're extending
it
the
back.
lighting, which we're not quite there yet in the grant. So that was something that we would be brought back to this body.
Thank you.
So back to the museums. I agree that we should follow the procedures that are written. The problem is we kind of exceed that scope during our meetings sometimes, right? We get further down trails of, like we are now discussing museums, when it's really not ours to discuss. So I just want to.
Well, we're discussing it in the manner that we're trying to
Right.
get to a place that the park commission would like to oversee that. So this
Right.
is a good discussion.
No, absolutely, but that's like we had for the municipal auditorium. I'm not sure if both of you were here back during those conversations, but we had the same things back then, and that's when we finally had to say, okay, we need to separate there.
Right, and that also came with the history of discussing that facility because it was a recreational facility at that time, but then Feather Recreation Park District took it over, so I think that was an old habit.
Right.
That just had to be cut off.
That's what we're trying, I want to fix here.
'Kay.
Old habits.
Right.
A very good summary from Huber's report is the summary of Park Commission Authority. And if you could just say summary of Park and Museum Commission Authority, I think that would cover most of what we want.
You're saying to
A summary of
include the
Park and Museum
museums
Commission.
in this.
Expenditure of money and off to the park fund, invest surplus funds, approval of potential museum sites, full control over all museum sites, regulation of activities, time restrictions, established rental rates, etc. Duties outlined in the Oroville Municipal Code. It's the good start,
So that's basically what Jordan has already written down.
except for the maintenance. We're not gonna go out and be planting trees. That's Wade.
All right.
If you want
Yeah.
to, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so, okay, that's a great start, thank you. And then the clarification wouldn't be needed, because if you included the museum part, it would already include the conversation from the charter.
Right.
And make sure that we're following the charter on the park fund. Okay, all right, thank you.
So on that particular part, the museum's term, are we good?
Yes.
Okay,
I think we have enough.
sorry. Commissioner Jones.
I just want to quickly revisit number one, the Adopt a Park program. I already know about Bedrock Park and the Exchange Club, as I've talked to them about that before. I have a couple of questions from groups, but first I want to talk about Rotary Park. In the middle of that park, there's a giant concrete edifice, whatever you want to call it, that says a Rotary Club. Is that just historical, legacy, or are they active in Adopt a Park?
That's historical, but I don't know, have they been active recently in our parks? Yes, they have, actually. I take that back.
All right, so we have two of them then.
Yes, we've planted the seed for adopting the park. They just haven't
Filled out the
paperwork.
technical application.
All right, so that's a wonderful thing. That's what I wanted to know. And the second one is I've been asked by different organizations, is it restricted that only one service organization can adopt the park?
No.
Or so more than one?
Multiple.
Thank you, that's, because I've been asked that, and now I have the answer.
Yep.
The more the merrier.
Right, Bob will be happy.
Imagine how,
Bob would be happy.
imagine how great our parks will look if we get 10 organizations apiece for these parks.
Yeah.
Well,
Are
and the
there-
added activity from all those volunteers for the Adopt a Park will also keep the unwanted visitors out.
Absolutely.
Parks actually right now. We have a neighborhood watch we're doing right now.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. All right. Is that all we have for item number 5?
It is kind of segues into item number 6, because it's a docent report, that I don't have much for, just that I was going to touch on the curator is back open, so if you have anyone in mind for that, it is a full-time position. I'll double check that edit has been made. Other than that, we are receiving docent applications. We're trying to get that excitement going again. And we had a great lead docent meeting earlier, I think last week. And we're moving forward with that and hopefully getting more applications for a curator. So no official docent report written for this body.
Is there still applications for the curator from the folks from the universities?
We had, well, as far as from the universities, so we are sending the flyer and information back out to the universities.
We're starting over, if that's
Okay.
answers your question. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Jones, do you have comment? Commissioner Krantz?
And just to clarify, did that go from being a part-time position to a full-time position because now that person would also be involved with the docents?
It's still the same scope as far as the job description goes, but in conversations with the docents and with the candidates, that it really became a full-time position because there are 5 active museums. And there's a lot to bring up to date with those collections as far as our session records, our logging, and then really building a robust docent program in addition to taking care of the museums.
And that went before council as a full-time
Yes,
position?
so it started
right?
as a
Correct, it's
part-time and then we got it approved through council for a full-time position.
Wonderful. Is that it for number 6?
Yes.
Commissioner Castro?
I have one quick question. I know you can't tell us what happened, but is it the same job description? So if we do
Yes.
find people, nothing was changed?
No,
Yes,
same job
same
description.
description, same salary, same everything, yeah.
All right, item number 7, commission reports. Commissioner Castro?
I'm very excited that the Eagles Club is having its annual Easter egg hunt at Hewitt Park on Saturday at 11 o'clock. I had it right here. All children are welcome. We'll be putting over 200 baskets together on Thursday. So we're really excited to use the park. And even as it is, we're excited. And I'm sure Wade's going to clean it up and do everything he does to make it fun for all those people. And so we're really excited to be using our parks. Thank you.
Are there any other commissioners with any reports? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 8, future agenda items. Are there any commissioners that have items they wish to bring up on a future agenda?
Anything else?
Huh?
Not anything else. We have
To bring up on a future agenda?
No, we already have it. The vandalism report and don't we? Do we have to formally say those are agenda items? Staff
For
is
the
gonna bring
record,
them?
it would be good to say what the agenda items are. So we have Hewitt Park, the community discussion again, the vandalism report. And then, Jordan, what else do we have?
Question about the securities?
We had mentioned possibly breaking down the priorities and doing a staff report on security. And I have levy discussion written down, but I slashed it and put staff level. So that's going to be a staff level discussion first before it comes back to this body. So vandalism, Hewitt Park, and safety.
I think
um,
vandalism
priority.
can go hand in hand with the safety
With
of the
safety,
parks.
that's true.
And so
Okay.
we can start off with reporting the vandalism that's taken place in our parks and what the cost of that has been monthly and annually. And then we can roll into what we're currently doing for safety measures for our parks and what we can add to that for future.
Which goes hand in hand with the number 1 priority for this body. So
Absolutely, I agree. And as you guys heard tonight, there's quite a few passionate folks in the community that are dealing with these real-time problems. There was a time when the MLE program started, and part of their, I don't know if it was part of their description of their position or they just happened to do it, but part of what they did every morning was they went and logged a drive-through of each park. And granted, there was a lot of times that, they wouldn't exit their patrol car, but they still were a visual aid in, a visual deterrent, if you will, of things going on in the parks. And now what you have is individuals, there was 3 parks last night where individuals were just literally camped out. And there's that visual deterrent isn't there. So with that, how much vandalism is going on, what is it costing versus what does it look like if we can implement some things. Understanding that staffing is short, but what can be done now? And there's, the residents that came in tonight, the ones that have been in communications. They're doing their part. They're watching these folks. They're seeing what's going on. They're reporting it. The problem is the follow through after the report. And so I don't know if Chief Lagrone can get somebody to come down from PD to talk about what a plan is for parks, or
When the city hires a new police chief, the new police chief can handle that. Right now, I'm not making any long-term plans for the department. The department is going through changes, and there is enough hands in that pie trying to run the department now from both inside, outside, every which way. So it's going to be best to let the new chief get here, evaluate what he or she has, and then come up with a formulated program to help do that, because it's going to be a complex thing, Commissioner O'Reilly, that is going to take time to get their hands around. So it's not that I don't want to do it, it's just I don't want to come in here and tell you absolutely, 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 and then 2 weeks later somebody else show up and go, that's all, excuse the expression, BS, we're going another direction. So if the commission would bear with us, just that person should be in place in the next few months, I hope, and then they can formulate some sort of plan for you and give you kind of an update or how they want to attack those issues.
that's
If that makes sense.
no, that's fully understandable, and I appreciate that. And I know there's that concern. I'm trying to think of how to say this so I'm not taken out of context. The concern right now is real for the parks, of the camping, the illegal fires, the everything going on. And basically what it boils down to for these folks who are calling it in or seeing it, it boils down to whoever shows up, right? What can they expect with whoever shows up? So you have some officers that follow no camping in city limits, no camping in the parks, and they follow that to a T. They might get a different officer the next day that doesn't follow that doesn't enforce that. And so is there anything that we can recommend at this time as the park commission to move forward to the council, or to recommend to staff to move forward to whoever it can to kind of get on the same page?
Again, no. The commission does not provide direction to the police department, neither does the council. The council sets policy for the police. The commission makes recommendation to them. So no direction coming from here. That's the problem we have, is we have too many people trying to run the police department, and they've interfered to the point that they're causing significant problems. I mean, so everybody, if we would relax for a moment and let those that run it, it would make things a whole lot easier. The issue you have right now is a command and control issue. When you are running a quasi-military organization and you have undermining that occurs from the outside, whether it be from commissions, councils, or community members, that makes it very difficult to run those organizations. So it is really one of those things. I will pass on the information, to make sure that they know, what we're desiring. But it's really going to take somebody to come in that has the time that's allocated to be there day in and day out to ensure these things are happening. Right now I am the acting chief. I'm just trying to keep a seat warm until somebody else shows up to take it. And I am pretty much an absentee parent. I have a lieutenant that runs the department for me because my time is dedicated down here, and it shifts to that department mainly on I'm going to say more on a business level than necessarily an operational level. So, I miss a lot of those things that are going on there, but I absolutely understand what you're saying about the inconsistencies, which are frustrating. I get that. I just don't have a really good answer for you right now. I'm not trying to dance around it or evade it, and I'm not trying to be obstinate or even non-helpful. It's just I don't want to represent I'm going to do something that I darn well know I can't do, if that all makes any sense.
I appreciate that and understand that. My frustration comes from, we have enforceable policies, ordinances, and things in place that the department, the police department, should enforce. And I understand it's not you. But there's things that this commission is in charge of, and one of those is implementing the rules at the parks. And when we have families, literally, each of us have families who have reached out to us by the dozens because of the unsafety in our parks. And here we are as the commission, because we've received this correspondence and we are the voice of that park, those parks. My expectation is that we get an answer. So I guess if we can request Lieutenant Zarate, if he's running the department, if we can request him to the next meeting so we can get the answer
I don't know how differently to say it. There is no answer. I mean, that's just, you have to understand what you have and what's going on. I mean, and I don't think you do. I mean, I think you think you do, but you don't. I mean, so there is no answer to give you. I mean, and no, we're not having a bunch of staff come down here to endlessly and aimlessly answer questions that are not relevant to solving the problem. I mean, there is something coming, I know, long-term, and I know that I understand the frustration of we want the immediacy of it now. I mean, but we don't have that.
We have rules in these parks, and we have a police department that are to enforce these rules, and when the police department
Please
does
don't
not
lecture me
enforce
about any
these
of that,
rules-
okay? I know well about that. I've been doing this business
So you're
for
telling me, Mr.
quite a long
Ladrone,
time.
it can't happen, is what you're telling me right now. It can't happen,
I'm telling you it can happen. I'm telling you it's not happening right now.
and it needs to happen right now. These rules,
Okay,
laws are in
again,
place right now.
again, please don't lecture me. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, and let me
Okay, go ahead.
clarify. I believe the misunderstanding is you think I want somebody to come down here and say that they're gonna make the pasture so much greener. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying who can be talked to or what can be done for the rules, the ordinances, the laws that are in effect as of right now of this day at this time to be enforced within our parks.
And I'm telling you that we will pass that on and we will ask for that.
Okay.
But what I'm
That's
telling you,
we've
but I
asked.
also want to be really clear with you, I want to call you Bobby, but I know I shouldn't. Mr. O'Reilly
You're
is
fine.
I don't want to stand here and represent to you that is going to happen, absolutely. Because I don't want to, I just want to be really honest with you. And I know sometimes honesty is a little bit, and I know I have a tendency to be a little bit abrupt and, sometimes I don't mean to be, it's just I want to be really clear about what we're doing. I mean, and that's just, we'll do the best we can. We'll pass that on. There are, and I'm trying to gently dance around an issue. There are issues that exist that need to be corrected. That why I keep going back to this new chief is because that will be corrected. It should be corrected under this new chief so that those things are consistently and uniformly enforced, not just random. I mean, so I'm trying to gently talk around multiple things here.
Well, I appreciate
So I'm not
that.
trying to argue. I'll argue with you later, but I'm not trying to argue with you here. I mean, that's
No, and
I'm sorry.
and I don't mean it to be an argument. I mean it to be, I just want to be understood and heard as we are. I mean, we've had people here this evening. I know we have all been blown up with the
And
issues.
believe me, I share the same frustration you do because I don't like that either. I just like things to be simple, easy, and equal. I mean, whatever the rule is, it's the rule for all of us. I mean, we may not like it, but it's the rule. I'm sorry, Commissioner Krantz, you had a question?
So you could answer this, maybe staff could answer this. So as specifically tonight, Brian and Stephanie were here presenting their concerns for, I think this is the third meeting in a row that they have had to do this. What kept going through my mind is I appreciate and I completely sympathize with their situation, but we're just able to sit here and listen to them and express our concerns and our sympathy. Where should we be directing the public to then to really feel like their voices are being heard?
The police department.
And
To
would that
the
be
administration
best
of the police department. That's where
Email,
we'll actually
phone calls?
I mean, that's what I would do. I would just call and I would speak with Lieutenant Zarate or the watch commander, whoever that may be. It would be a sergeant most likely.
And I mean,
if there's
not,
an issue. I mean,
not
that's,
during an emergency, but just
Yeah, of
when they
course.
want to
Right.
voice their
Yeah,
concerns.
If there's a, that's where, you're going to have to take the squeaky wheel to where it can be fixed, and that's where it can be fixed. Oftentimes, and this isn't any criticism of anyone in the community or anything, but they come to commission meetings and they come to council meetings and, really, yeah, the council hears it, the commissions hear it and everything, but they don't really fix anything.
And that's
I mean,
exactly why I wanted to hear that from you, because now I feel like at future meetings, when they bring those concerns, we can intelligently tell them, because you have told us this is where you need to take your concerns. Come to the meeting, fine, we love to hear what you have to say, but in order to really make
Sure.
an impact, this is where you need to take your concerns.
Yeah, I would do that, and and it's like I've heard of some of the issues that have occurred that Brian and I'm sorry, I don't
Stephanie.
remember the lady's name. Stephanie have reported down there, and it's unacceptable level of service that was provided by the police department. It's just it was a excuse the expression, a piss poor example of police work, and it shouldn't have been done that way. And what I would do if it were me in those particular situations is you want to speak to the watch commander then. I mean, because it doesn't do any good 3 weeks later to come and tell somebody something happened, as opposed to when it's actually happening, if you can get a hold of the watch commander and they can send the person back out or another officer out, or they can go out with the officer. Then if you come to the conclusion that it was the watch commander that did it, or didn't do it, whatever it may be, then you take that next step up and you keep moving your way through the administration. That's how you'll really affect change. And because, it's like any business. You want to have as many satisfied customers as you can, recognizing that some customers just aren't going to be happy. I mean, because they're on the other side of that. So I hope all that helps. And like I say, I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything. It's just a difficult situation that exists right now. And I understand your frustration. I have frustration too. We'll get there. I mean, please, be patient and bear with us for a couple more months.
Thanks. I wish that they were here to hear that.
I do too.
And I don't think we are very efficient with all of this that's going on without doing exactly what you said. I think their frustration was not knowing where to go or
Sure.
file a formal, all of that. So we want to have good public. We can't lose them down there right now from protecting, and we don't want any sort of it to escalate. All it would take would be, and I know you probably can't call them, but a call from Zarate that says, we know about this situation. Can't do anything about it today. We're hiring a chief. We're watching out for you.
Well, I
don't
think
know if you can even do that.
the message we want to give them is we can do something about it today, but you got to report it the day it happens. It doesn't do any good to send an email 4 days later to a bunch of electeds, then all of a sudden, the world blows up. Well, 4 days ago was when the problem was, not,
Fair enough.
5. I mean, that's, I think, what,
Fair enough.
Ms. Castro, we could actually, if we want to deliver a message, it's like call right away. If you're unsatisfied with the level of service, ask to speak to the on-duty sergeant or the watch commander.
And that's why I was
That was great.
requesting the things I requested tonight, was hoping that could happen next meeting. They could be here next meet, anyone with those concerns, and we could bridge that gap then.
No, we
Sure.
can tell.
I can do that next meeting. I mean, that's not a problem. It's just a matter of
That was
making
the
sure that I
purpose
know
behind
it's
me
here.
asking.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I don't mind doing that. I mean, if that's what we're trying to get to them. So as far as, I don't want to get into the operational level of, this is what we're doing, because it just doesn't, the average person, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't make any sense. It's beyond what they want to know. I mean.
One more quick thing before Commissioner Jones. We can be of help to you. You
Sure.
want us to help you and support
Absolutely.
you. And when they come to us, we want to say,
Yeah, no, do that. That's, yeah.
So, thank
No,
you.
that's the quickest route.
thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
I just want to know, as process, you said you're hiring a new police chief.
Yes, sir.
Great. Do you have a general timeline when you would hope to bring somebody on board?
No, sir, I don't. This is the police, there's a few jobs in the city that are direct reports to the city council. This is in the city council's purview, and they will be announcing that or releasing any information on that when they're prepared to do that. But I would think that just in generality speaking, I don't want to,
That's
I'm not
all I'm
speaking for
asking.
the council, but I'm thinking probably by the end of summer, midsummer, there should be some sort of resolution to that.
I'm hoping you're correct. I understand you don't know, but I don't understand the process of this city as far as how long it takes to get that unique person.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than when you work for the council. You're on a personal service contract. There's a few of us that do that, and we are direct reports to the city council. That is who they can direct. The municipal code prohibits them from directing city employees. I am technically not a city employee. I am an employee of the city council. So, but I work for the city. So it's kind of a convoluted, weird little thing that, it's not unusual. Every city does it. But it is just different. So this takes a little longer. With police chiefs, there requires a psychological screening, a physical screening, an extensive background. I mean, there is quite a bit that goes into that. So it is a long process, but, like I say, I hope that we're going to have something resolved sooner than later, because quite honestly, I don't want to sit in this chair anymore. Nothing against anybody or anything. It's just, our city, our community, and our department deserves somebody there full-time at the helm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Legrone, I wanted to say Bill, but
That's fine.
I wanted to apologize for putting you under the spotlight. I know you
No,
came
okay.
to attend, not to have to go through all this, but that was my only hope and intention.
No,
was to
that's,
bridge some
and
gaps.
please, we can disagree on a lot of things, and at the end of the day, we're still friends, and I still respect you. I respect this commission and everything. Feel free to disagree with me. We'll hash it out. We'll figure it out. It's, how else do we make good decisions unless we listen to one another? And,
Absolutely.
we share what our true opinions are, and sometimes those things are in conflict, and we will bump up against each other. It's just important that we respect one another and we hear one another.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information.
Are there any other commissioners with agenda items? All right, if there is nothing else, we're going to adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:16. The next regularly scheduled Parks Commission meeting will be June 14th at 5:15.